Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pat Paramahansa Padadikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padadikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, since there's so few of us here and most of us are not so experienced, Glenn, can you get the garland? Thank you. Okay. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jai Mudiriyet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nasta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 25th day of May, 2019, in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 12, Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Text number 42. Okay. going to have to do that again. I'm sorry. Please bear with me. I'm going to do it again. On this 25th day of May, 2019, in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 12, Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Text number 42. Ya Panchavarsho Gurudara Vaksharayar Binnena Yato Vidiyena Duyata Vanammadadeshakarojitam Prabhum Jagayatad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Yak Panchavarsho Gurudara Vaksharayar Binnena Yato Vidiyena Duyata Vanammadadeshakarojitam Prabhum Jigayatad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Yak Panchavarsho Gurudara Vaksharayar Binnena Yato Vidiyena Duyata Vanammadadeshakarojitam Prabhum Jigayatad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Yak Panchavarsho Gurudara Vaksharayar Binnena Yato Vidiyena Duyata Jagayatad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Jagayatad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Yak Panchavarsho Gurudara Vaksharayar Binnena Yato Vidiyena Duyata Vanammadadeshakarojitam Prabhum Jayatan Bhakta Gunai Parajitam. Anyone want to try it? Okay. Yaha, he who, Panchavarshaha, at the age of 5 years, Gurudara, of the wife of his father, Vaksharai, by the harsh words, Binnena, being very much aggrieved, Yataha, went, Vidiyena, because his heart, Duyata, very much pained, Vanam, to the forest, Mat Adesha, according to my instruction, Karaha, acting, Ajitam, unconquerable, Prabhum, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Jigaya, he defeated, Tat, his, Bhakta, of devotees, Gunai, with the qualities, Parajitam, conquered. Translation. The great sage Narada continued, just see how Dhruva Maharaj, aggrieved at the harsh words of his stepmother, went to the forest at the age of only 5 years, and under my direction underwent austerity. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unconquerable, Dhruva Maharaj defeated him with the specific qualifications possessed by the Lord's devotees. Purport. The Supreme Godhead is unconquerable. No one can conquer the Lord, but he voluntarily accepts subordination to the devotional qualities of his devotees. For example, Lord Krishna accepted subordination to the control of Mother Yashoda because she was a great devotee. The Lord likes to be under the control of his devotees. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that everyone comes before the Lord and offers him exalted prayers. But the Lord does not feel as pleased when offered such prayers as he does when a devotee, out of pure love, chastises him as a subordinate. The Lord forgets his exalted position and willingly submits to his pure devotee. Dhruva Maharaj conquered the Supreme Lord because, at a very tender age, only 5 years old, he underwent all the austerities of devotional service. This devotional service was, of course, executed under the direction of a great sage, Narada. This is the first principle of devotional service, Adau Guruvashriyam. In the beginning, one must accept a bona fide spiritual master, and if a devotee follows strictly the direction of the spiritual master, as Dhruva Maharaj followed the instruction of Narada Muni, then it is not difficult for him to achieve the favor of the Lord. The sum total of devotional qualities is development of unalloyed love for Krishna. This unalloyed love for Krishna can be achieved simply by hearing about Krishna. Lord Chaitanya accepted this principle, that if one, in any position, submissively hears the transcendental message spoken by Krishna or about Krishna, then gradually he develops the quality of unalloyed love, and by that love only he can conquer the unconquerable. The Mayavadi philosophers aspire to become one with the Supreme Lord, but a devotee surpasses that position. Not only does a devotee become one in quality with the Supreme Lord, but he sometimes becomes the father, mother, or master of the Lord. Arjuna also, by his devotional service, made Lord Krishna his chariot driver. He ordered the Lord, "Put my chariot here," and the Lord executed his order. These are some examples of how a devotee can acquire the exalted position of conquering the unconquerable. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is the kind of a coda, some verses at the end of this long pastime we've been studying the last few months, of Dhruva Maharaj. Prabhupada always called him Dhruva Maharaj, even when he was a 5-year-old boy, because eventually he would become an actual king. Just as Prahlad Maharaj is 5-year-old, but he becomes the king eventually of the world. So Narada Muni has a very critical position to play in this pastime. Just to review, as reviewed here in the verse and also the purport, that Dhruva, this is near the beginning of the universe, or at least the beginning of the first Manvantara, Swayambhuva Manu. His sons were Uttanapada and second one, forget exactly, Priyavrata. Thank you. So Uttanapada was a very exalted king, and he had 2 wives, Suruchi and Suniti. His favorite wife was Suruchi. It's interesting. I like to point out the names. The names are always important. What Krishna's name, they all have meaning. So Suruchi means very beautiful. Suniti means very virtuous. And his favorite wife was Suruchi. And he had one son by Suruchi, but his elder son was actually Dhruva. So one day in the palace, now Suniti had been kind of relegated to a little remote part of the palace. She wasn't the favorite wife. She had her quarters, but so the scene is inside the palace room. The king is on the throne, and he's playing with Uttama, who's the son of Suruchi, Dhruva's half brother, and he's pampering him, and cuddling him on the throne there. So naturally, Dhruva, 5-year-old Dhruva, he wants to get up there and enjoy it in the fun with his father and his brother, half brother. But Suruchi says, no, you can't get on there. She wants to try to degrade Dhruva so that her son will get the kingdom. You see? So her only card to play, so to speak, is that she's the favorite wife. So she's working that. And she said, no, you can't get on there. In other words, she doesn't want him, winning the heart of the king. You have to pray to God to take birth from my womb, and then you can get on there. So Dhruva was shocked, hurt to the quick of his heart. So he's angry and upset, and hurt. And the big thing was the father didn't protest. So what is he going to do? He goes to his mother. He finds her in the corner of the palace. This is what happened, mother. What do you think? So she said, what can I do? You know, your stepmother is a favorite, but you should take her words to heart. She says you have to pray to God and find God. So you should find God. And Prabhupada adds, I didn't find this in any of the commentaries, how she then says, I have heard, so then Dhruva asks, where is God? He said, I have heard that great sages find him in the forest. So, this, you know, indicating she's a simple woman, but very pious, you know, very devoted. So Dhruva says, okay, I'm going there. You know, so he's 5 years old. He trudges off to the big forest. And Narada Muni, he heard what's going on, and so he at least comes and says just what's necessary for the upliftment of bhakti, for bhakti in anyone, even from whether he's a great king, Prahlad Maharaj. He was also the spiritual master preaching to him in the womb. And here, so the first thing he does is test Dhruva and says, you're only 5 years old. You go back home, and then you come back when you're a little older, and I'll teach you all about yoga, you know, everything. But Dhruva is so determined to see God now that he says, thank you very much, O great sage, but if you can't help me, I'm going, you know. So Narada Muni relents, and he says, okay, you go. And he goes to the forest, one of the forests of Vrindavan, Madhuvan, which is very significant. And you practice this kind of rudimentary deity worship. You make a little deity out of the mud and clay, and you worship that, you know. And meanwhile, you chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya constantly. Meditate on the form of the Lord in the heart. He gives him a nice description of that super soul. And I don't remember him actually outlining his austerities, but it's understood that he's going to perform these severe austerities while he's doing this. So he has a kind of a devotional program, though, there, you know. And the big thing is that he's so fixed. His desire is for the kingdom. He's not desiring love of God at this point. He's desiring the kingdom. But the practice of meditating, especially chanting the holy name, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate, again and again, and meditating on the Lord in the heart, that is going to purify him. So in a matter of 6 months, which is nothing, this is Satya Yuga, where people live 100,000 years, 6 months, at the snap of a finger, he gets so advanced, and he's practicing more and more austere practices. You know, he describes the first week he's eating the fruits that fall from the tree. The next week he's not eating the fruits, he's just eating the leaves. Next week he gave up the leaves, he's just breathing deeply. Next he's breathing slower, slower and slower. Eventually he's breathing once every couple of days. And meanwhile he's focused so hard that he's entrained the universal breathing. So the demigods are also having a hard time breathing. And so they appeal to Vishnu, please go down there and do something, you know. So Vishnu goes down on Garuda and appears before Dhruva. And Dhruva's meditation breaks. He opens his eyes, and there's his object of meditation in front of him. You know, so he goes into ecstasy, and he's crying, and hair standing on end, everything. And then he wants to offer prayers, but how to offer prayers? He never studied Sanskrit. He's only 5 years old. But he gets touched on the forehead by the conch of Vishnu, Vishnu's conch, and that gives him the power to chant these beautiful prayers. And in those prayers, I won't read it, I've done this several times already, but one of the prayers is that, you know, because a prayer has a very definite meaning in English. And in the Sanskrit, this word vandanam has a broader meaning. It doesn't just mean asking God for something. It includes that, but it also means bowing down. You know, Dhruva certainly, you know, offered his obeisances many times. Glorification, and then request. Those three things. So he glorifies the Lord. Then he has a request. What is the request? Please give me a kingdom greater than my great-grandfather's, greater than Brahma's. No, he forgot about the kingdom. He says, all I want is the association with the great devotees in whose heart the bhakti is flowing like a powerful river. Why do I need their association? Because all I want to do now is hear about your glories. And if I can hear the glories from the great devotees, then I'll surely cross over this ocean of birth and death very easily. And in another prayer that's not in the Bhagavatam, even more famous, he says, I was situated in the greatest austerity in order to get a position, you know, the position of Brahma, basically. Sthana abhilashi. I was longing for a sthana. A sthana is a position. And that's tapasistitoham, situated in great austerity. But now I've gotten your darshan. The darshan, the direct sight of Krishna, is the most valuable gift I think you can get. Tvam Praptavan Devam Indraguyam, even the great demigods and the leading of the sages, devotional sages, cannot see you. They may see you in the heart, but it's rare to see you outside. And so, Kacham Bachinva. Now I understand that I was searching for shards of glass. That this kingdom I want is no more valuable than that, compared to the divine jewel of your darshan and love for you. Kacham Bachinvan Abhi Divya Ratnam. Divya Ratnam means a transcendental jewel, invaluable, Chintamani. So then the famous line Prabhupada would quote all the time, Svaman. Svaman means Swami, Goswami, but it also means master. Svaman kratartos mi vadang niyache. I don't want anything else from you. The heck with the kingdom, it's valuable. So his desires were transformed. And that's the essence of the bhakti. That's what bhakti means, is that your desire, your aspiration will be transferred from matter to spirit, or more specifically from sense gratification to Krishna. And so that principle is mentioned here, conquering the unconquerable. Now Prabhupada picks up on that. He quotes the Chaitanya Charitamrita. First he quotes the Chaitanya Charitamrita from the 4th chapter of the Adi Leela. If you want to look into the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you don't have time to read the whole thing. I always. You got a seat? You get this one. Chapter 4. The chapter 4 of the Adi Leela, there's so much explanation there. And this is what Prabhupada is referring to, how Krishna is describing, first of all, why he came, why he comes down. And what he says that I've come, as I am, in order to show a demonstration of my intimate Leela in Vrindavan, to renew the memory of this highest relationship with God, which is one of intimate love, not so much of awe and reverence. And that's what he says. Everyone comes to me to offer all these official prayers and the Vedas, but basically they want liberation, whatever. But my mind is stolen away from those prayers by my mother's chastisement. When my mother has chastised me, I've covered all my majesty and I'm just crawling in the yard, or I'm stealing some butter, and my mother is chastising me. That's much more pleasing to me. The bottom line of everything is what's really pleasing Krishna. He's certainly pleased when, instead of just forgetting him, we act like demons and become atheists, and we approach him for our necessities. Give me your daily bread, give me safety, please, like that. That's better, than atheism. But it's not an intimate relationship of love. It's one of almost a business relationship. But that doesn't please him so much. But when we love him so intensely that his Yogamaya energy covers his majesty, and we see Krishna and experience Krishna as he's so famous in the Vrindavan atmosphere, looking like a human being, a young boy, and he can be a friend, he can be a lover, he can be a beloved child, and draw out this intense love and in various rasas or mellows. That's what he's after. Raso Vaisa means that he himself is made of rasa. He wants that relationship. That's what God wants. He has everything else. What else can he have? So that's mentioned here. He does not feel as pleased when offered such prayers, regular prayers, Vedic prayers, as when his mother chastises him. Forgets his exalted position. So Dhruva Maharaj conquered the Lord because at such a tender age he gave up everything and he practiced these severe austerities for purification. So rather than just give him the kingdom, although he did do that, that was almost like a punishment by that time. Now you have to rule the earth for 35,000 years. Okay, I guess. What I mean? But so he did that, and he kind of went a little astray. His brother was killed by some yakshas, who are the descendants of Kuvera. And he became infuriated. He's the king. And he started killing all the yakshas instead of just finding the one who did it and punishing him. So Kuvera comes down and pleads with him, please, you're so powerful now, it's not proper that you kill all the yakshas, it's just the one who killed you. So he agrees, he calms down a little bit. But after the 35,000 years, we just we're just reading right now in the morning class, just before this, how there was these two aides or assistants of Vishnu, Nanda and Sunanda, who come down when Dhruva was ready to leave his body, and they come down in this effulgent airplane from Vishnu Loka, and they invite him to get on the plane and go back to Godhead, you know. So he performs certain rituals, you know, and he wants to get on it, and death comes personified. Oh, death is here? No problem. He steps on the head of death and gets into the plane. In other words, he's not afraid of death anymore. And he's riding in the plane and says, oh, wait a minute, what about my mother? You know, his wonderful mother, Suniti, who gave him the instruction and everything. And they said, don't worry, she's going on a plane. Look, you see, there's another plane coming for her. Even though she didn't practice all the austerities, because he did, he delivered her. It's described that a great devotee like this can deliver 100 of your ancestors and 100 of your generations of descendants. You know, if your parents were, why don't you study? Why don't you get a job? What are you hanging out with those Hare Krishnas? You just tell them, listen, this is the best thing I'm doing for you. Because you know, Krishna just appreciates that so much. So then the overriding point here is that Dhruva carefully followed the instructions of his spiritual master. Now, why is this? You know, because people say, wait a minute, I want to be free. You know, I mean, I'll do it on my own. You can't do it on your own. You have to have the guru. Prabhupada, why do we need a personal guru? Can't we just read your books, or someone can read your books? You know, so no, because the guru can pull your ear. You know, in other words, you need somebody to get on your case, who you respect and you're willing, because we're so conditioned. The mind is so conditioned that it'll very stubbornly keep its conditioning and give us all kinds of reasons to deviate or slow down or maybe do something else or this doubt. So the relationship with the guru is the training for the relationship with Krishna. It's very kind of personal. The guru is most dear to Krishna because he's a pure devotee. He's given up everything. Like Prabhupada, I'm reading this Lilamrita again, how he gave so much. He sacrificed so much to come to America. Practically risked his life. Exactly risked his life. He had 2 heart attacks, comes to America. Can you imagine? I mean, imagine going to Calcutta with no money, no friends, you know, in order to start a movement, a religion that nobody believes in or even heard of. You see how amazing it is? How courageous, really. So that completely endeared him. He was already dear, but it completely endeared him to Krishna even more. And he gave him so much help along the way. If you look at you know, Prabhupada's preaching, you see that what happened was there's often like a almost intractable problem. You know, he's in America, he has, you know, no money. Well, okay, he has one contact. He goes to Pennsylvania, you know, and he stays there a couple of weeks. You know, now what? Okay, so he found some yogi in New York who'll put him up for a few weeks. He goes there. In other words, just like, you know, it's up to you, Krishna. Like he wrote the prayer, this song, very instructive song, called Markine Bhagavat Dharma, which means Krishna consciousness in America. Markine means America in Bengali or something. And he came, he landed in Boston, got off, took a little walk, then went back on the ship to wait because they're going to go on to New York in a couple hours. I think there's a few hours stopover in Boston. So during that time, he wrote this prayer. He'd already seen now that you know, got a taste of what big American city is, Boston, with this, you know, the skyline and everything, and everybody moving around. So he's writing to Krishna. I don't know why you brought me to this horrible place. You must have had some reason, you know. Now it's up to you to make my power of speaking sufficient so they'll understand. I don't see how it's going to happen. They're completely immersed in the 4 sinful activities that are the 4 regular principles. You all know what they are. You know, how is it going to work? I have no idea, but you could. So I'm just like a puppet in your hands. So then this famous line: if you brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord, make me dance as you like. You know. So this is the pure devotee feeling completely controlled by Krishna, with the surrender. If you want to kill me, kill me. If you want to exalt me, exalt me. It's up to you. So you know, then there was so many other struggles. You know, and eventually he gets a little place, you know, this 22nd Avenue, where he can actually find some persons who are responsive, receptive, and who he can preach to. He spent hours. You could go up to see Prabhupada in his room. Said, oh, can I see the Salam? Yeah, just go up in his room. You could stay there for 2 hours and talk to Prabhupada. Can you imagine it? By the time I came around, I didn't get a personal darshan. But what was he doing? He was convincing people to become Krishna conscious, And some would come up, they would challenge, they would be crazy, they'd be on LSD, But there were a few who were real serious and sane, and they responded to Prabhupada and started chanting, became the first devotees. And they in turn made other devotees. So that's what endears you to Krishna more than else. Taking risks, being sincere, and surrendering. And so that, how to conquer. Now, Prabhupada, yes, this unalloyed love for Krishna can be achieved simply by hearing about Krishna. Lord Chaitanya accepted this principle. Now, that's kind of a phrase that he accepted this principle when he was talking to Ramananda Roy. You remember that? We just had Ramananda Roy's appearance or disappearance? I forget. Probably disappearance. Ramananda Roy was a very intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya came when he took sannyas, he went to Puri, and immediately started on touring South India. For 2 years, he wandered around South India. It's amazing. He would just chant Hare Krishna, and people would see him, and they would immediately become full of prema. And they, in turn, would go back to their villages, and people would meet them, and they would become, it was just like a disease. He made thousands of devotees just by chanting. But the first thing he did almost was to go and see Ramananda Roy, who was he was the governor, he was doing this mundane work, but actually he was this great intimate devotee knowing all of the intricacies of the Madhurya Ras. And so Lord Chaitanya took the role of the guru, of the disciple, and he asked questions to Ramananda Roy. What's the ultimate, the standard question, if you meet somebody you think has that, what is the goal of life? And how can I achieve it? These are like sadhya and sadhana. Sadhana is the practice, sadhya is the goal. So he asked Ramananda Roy, what's the sadhana, what's the sadhya? So he began with kind of the most rudimentary devotion, the varnashrama chodata. If you just practice varnashram, you do nicely in your duties, and worship Vishnu, that's perfection. Lord just said, that's very nice, but it's external, go on. He went on and on and on. Even sarva dharma parityaja was external. Just surrendering unto me, Krishna said. He goes on, and finally, the first one he accepted, he said, that's very good, but you can go further. Rather than just that's external, you can go further. Was the verse that Prabhupada is referring here. Lord Chaitanya accepted this principle. It's kind of a code here, but I know what he's talking about. And that's a prayer by Lord Brahma. Now, Lord Brahma is the first created being. He's the receptor and the repository of all the Vedic knowledge. He has so much knowledge, he needs 4 heads to hold it all, right? So he's got these, and he is, in turn, spoke to Narada, who in turn gave the knowledge to Vyasadeva, who gave it to Shukadeva, and on down, all the way to Prabhupada and us. So this knowledge is coming down. So Brahma, just to show that he also can be bewildered, it didn't compute for him, because he understands, that he's the first created being. He meditated for, who knows, many thousands of years in order to realize Krishna and have the whole ocean of truth manifested. Then he wrote the Brahma Samhita. And in the Brahma Samhita, he outlines the creation also. Mahavishnu and Garbhodaksha Vishnu and the birth from the navel. You've heard of all this stuff? So Brahma then, he heard that God had appeared in Vrindavan, so he goes down there and he sees a little boy with a flute and holding a little fruit salad in his hand. How was that my father, Garbhodaksha Vishnu? I'm the father of the universe, I lived 311 trillion years, and this little boy, 5-year-old boy, is my father? Didn't compute. So he played a trick. He's not about to do any harm, but he put all the cowherd boys, thousands of them, under his mystic slumber. And in a cave somewhere. And then the cowherd boys, they're taking lunch with Krishna, says, first you put the calves. The calves wandered off, they were looking for nice grass. And so the boys said, oh, we got to find the calves, that's our duty. And Krishna said, no, you just wait here on the bank of the Yamuna, take the lunch, I'm going to go find the calves, I'll bring them back. So he goes to find the calves, can't find the calves, comes back, the boys are missing. Now he's all alone. So Brahma has taken all the boys, all the calves, and put him under his mystic slumber to see what Krishna can do. He says, well, let's see if he really has any power. So you know what he did? He expanded exactly with all the calves and all the boys. Because he said, oh, what will the mothers and the cows think when I come back alone? They'll be heartbroken. You know. So I'll come back playing at being the calves and the boys. And he was so good at it that even the mothers couldn't tell that they weren't the boys. So this is mystic power way beyond what Brahma could dream of. So he goes on doing that for a whole year. And meanwhile, what happens is that the mothers who already loved Krishna more than their own children suddenly love their own children as much as they love Krishna. The love just keeps increasing. And the cows, they can't stand to be separated from their calves anymore. You know, usually they go out, the calves go out. Anyway, so Balaram, he's also covered. Balaram is Krishna, but he also doesn't know what's going on. And he asks Krishna, and Krishna explained it to him just 5 days before the end. Okay? So finally, Brahma comes back. Now, Brahma's time is different than ours. He lives for 100 years of his time, which is 311 trillion 40 billion years of our time. So you can imagine what a year is. Not very much, right? So it's like a split second, or a little blink of the eye. He's worried what's going on. How is Krishna reacting to this? Goes down there, to Vrindavan, and he sees everything's going on as normal. Krishna's going out with the calves and the boys, and what? I've got the boys hidden in one cave and the cows hidden in another one under my mystic slumber. So he, Brahma is bewildered. That's why this whole passage is called Brahma Vimohan. Brahma, totally bewildered. Vimohan means totally bewildered. So finally, he comes down, he doesn't know what's going on. Then Krishna suddenly manifests all the calves, all the boys into Vishnu forms. We have beautiful garlands, tulsi garlands and everything, and they're being worshipped by everything. And Brahma just drops his jaws, he got 4 heads, and can't figure it out. So finally we're there, this is really God. I made a mistake. So he offers his obeisances a lot of times, and then he offers these prayers. And these prayers are very important. Chapter 14 of the 10th canto. And within those prayers, which are conclusive, just like the Brahma Samhita, this verse is there. And that's the whole, like a preamble to the verse. So the verses, which Lord Chaitanya accepted, the principle of hearing. The whole thing comes down to hearing. It says, Jnane priyasamudapasya namanta eva, jivanti sanmukoditam bhavadiya vartam, stane stita shrudigatam tanuvan manobhir, ye prayaso ajitachitopasitais trilokim. And here we have the point of conquering the unconquerable Lord. Krishna is known as Ajita. You've heard how he conquered all these demons who seemed invincible. Right? He easily conquered them. So no one can conquer Krishna. But he agrees to be conquered here in this verse because it's telling us how we're developing love for Krishna. He only agrees to be conquered by love. So what does this verse say? He says, Brahma speaking, he says, because he's the most wise person, he has all this knowledge. So he says, give up your attempt to gain knowledge. Jnane priyasa means a hard attempt to study this, study that. Priyasam, udapasya namanta. Udapasya, throw it far away. And surrender unto the Lord. And jivanti sanmukaditam. And this is how you should live. Sanmukaditam means from the mouth of the pure devotees, the sat. Bhavadiya vartam, news about you. Varta means accounts of your activities, qualities, pastimes, name. From the mouth of the pure devotees, you hear those accounts. You absorb your mind in it. Stane stita. You don't have to do anything radical. Don't change your position. Don't take sannyas or anything like that. Stane stita. But follow the shuddhigatam, this path of shruti, of hearing. And the key phrase, tonuvan manobir. You can't just have some, half-hearted, in one ear and one out the other. Tonuvan manobir means that with your body, mind, and words. How can you serve it with your body? Because when you hear, there are certain instructions to do, then you follow them with your body. With your mind, you contemplate the instructions, you absorb them, think about them, cogitate. And with your words, you repeat them. So if you're hearing in that way, Prabhupada called this ardent hearing, or the famous phrase, submissive oral reception. Right from the beginning of the Bhagavatam, you have this shushushro, this word, it means hearing and then serving. So if you do that, then ye prayaso, for the most part, jita jita, ajita jita, you'll conquer the unconquerable Lord. In all 3 worlds, this is the only way to do it. So that's what's happening here, is that by the process of hearing, one purifies one's whole consciousness, and the desires become purified. Instead of the desire to satisfy oneself, one's senses, or mind, subtle thing, one attains the desire to satisfy Krishna's senses, and that's the beginning of love. And that love will eventually conquer the Lord. And that's why Prabhupada gives the example of Arjuna. He was an intimate friend, and Krishna agreed to become his chariot driver. That's a servant position, you know. But when it came down to it, he took the position of the Supreme Personality of God. When Arjuna requested him to give up the friend position and become his guru, which is one of submission, you know, one submission to the guru. And then Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita for Arjuna's benefit and for ours also. So that's the import of this verse. Prabhupada says the sum total of devotional qualities, development of unalloyed love for Krishna. And again, how do we get it? You know, the wonderful thing is we've already got it. We just have to uncover it. Uncover it by the process of bhakti, which begins with hearing and chanting, but also involves all the senses, the mind, intelligence, and everything. So that's, last night we had a nice little program up in North County. And this verse came up. Lord Chaitanya speaking to Sanatana Goswami, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi, Shobhanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Udvai. That the eternal perfection of Krishna Prema, love for Krishna, is not sadhya. Now I used this word before, but in this case, in this context it means something else, something artificial that you have to get. It's already there. Nitya Siddha Krishna means sadhya kabunoi, shovanadi shuddha chitte kodaye udoi. That by hearing and chanting, shovanadi means hearing, etc. Well, the next thing is chanting and then remembering. Those are three of the main. The consciousness, the heart, the mind becomes purified. Shuddha chitte kodaye udoi. And it just awakens in the heart. Anybody, any human being, you have to be a human being, who practices this sincerely will find the attraction for Krishna growing and attraction for Maya waning. Those are two things that have to be there. If you try to hold on your attraction for Maya, then the attraction for Krishna won't grow. It's like starting a fire, pouring water on it. Oh, okay, let me try again. Fire, oh, then a little water. No, okay, try again. Doesn't work that way. If you stop the watering, then you progress nicely. So I went a little bit over time. Any questions or comments? This is a wonderful little coda about this pastime of Dhruva. And we should know, Lord Chaitanya loved to hear Bhagavatam. He had, who was it? Was Gadadhar's reading also? And Raghunath Bhatta, I think especially also. His only service was reading Bhagavatam out loud. And he would chant each of the verses in different tunes and everything. And Bhagavatam itself is the means and the goal, The means, you hear Bhagavatam, and right at the beginning it says, Ishare Sanjo Rinja Varujade Tukunabi Shushabis Takchanat. At the end of the second verse of the whole Bhagavatam, 1:1-2, it describes what do you need any other scripture for? If you just listen to this verse with, remember that word, shushu shol, ardent hearing, with one-pointed attention, one quickly has the Lord manifest in one's heart. One can see Krishna. So that purification chiefly comes through this hearing process. So this is, Lord Chaitanya loved to hear this pastime. You would think, well, he loved to hear the rasa dance. But it said he would hear this Dhruva Maharaj pastime again and again, because it describes the whole essence of the thing. How he came from the platform of basically, a somewhat childish desire, I don't have a kingdom greater than my grandfather, But Narada Muni took it and in Vrindavan, Madhuvan forest, he practiced this principle, became completely pure, and then went back to Vaikuntha here. Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, so that was sweet, but we'll end with one even sweeter. How's it go? At the beginning of the 21st chapter, which is the Venu Gita. By the way, there's a wonderful book by Shiva Ramaswamy called the Venu Gita, where he took all kinds of commentaries and wove them into a nice narrative about this Venu Gita. Venu Gita, the plot is Krishna leaves for the forest, and the gopis meditate on. They sing of him as he's in the forest, And this is one of several chapters where they do that, and these songs are given in the Bhagavatam. But at the beginning, there's this, sets the scene. And the scene is right after the rainy season. Then there's autumn, and autumn is the most attractive. That's when he has the rasa dance, sharat, So things dry out, but all the pools, the lakes, the rivers are very, very pristine because they've all been cleansed, by all the water. So it's ittam sharat swachajadam padmakata sugandinan yavisan vayunabatam sagogo palako chitaha. Thus, the sharat season came. Su-acha jalam. All the waters were extremely clear and pristine. Acha means acha jalam padmakata sugandha. There's all these lotus flowers floating in them, and the breezes are blowing, that fragrance is going throughout Vrindavan. And in that scene, Krishna entered the forest with his friends. And then it expands on that theme. And this is a really far out verse. This is in the meter that Bhishma Dev spoke. He used this meter when he was passing away. Beautiful prayers in the 9th chapter, 1st canto. So this is 21st chapter. And then a few verses later, then it describes how the gopis heard that flute. Right? Krishna's in the forest already, and they're hearing that flute. And the flute is awakening so many remembrances of Krishna. And they come together and start glorifying him, but they're so overwhelmed that they can hardly speak. This is right there at the beginning of the chapter. And then there's this verse that is very famous. In fact, many of the other, Prabhupada would always sing Jai Radhamadhava before the class, but I understood that in Vrindavan, that they'll chant this verse to evoke the whole mood of Krishna in Vrindavan. And that's Barhapi dam natabada vapu karnayo karnikaram bimrun vasak kanaka kapisham vajayantin chamalam randran veno adada sudeha purihan gopa vrinda vrindaranyam sobadatamanam pravishad gita kirti. So I took those two verses, Kusamita Vandadadmi, and this one, and I put it into a poem. So this is the English poem, you can understand. Vrindavan's rivers, lakes, and hills ring out with charming hums and trills, as flocks of birds and maddened bees rejoice among the flowering trees. To those idyllic woods and glens repairs Govinda with his friends. Now, I don't know if I have to stop this and I'll start again. The word repair. Does everyone know that that has a completely unrelated meaning? Does it mean just go? Did you ever hear about that? I mean, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and that was kind of common to knowledge, but I think now that word isn't used so much anymore. It is. You look it up in the... There's number one, repair your car, and number two, repair from the French or something means to go. So that's in this poem. Vrindavan's rivers, lakes, and hills resound with charming hums and trills as flocks of birds and maddened bees rejoice among the flowering trees. To those idyllic woods and glens repairs Govinda with his friends Sri Rama and the cowherd boys to taste the most exquisite joys. And as they walk along the way, absorbed in herding and in play, Sri Krishna, beauty absolute, begins to blow his mystic flute. With peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flower on each ear, he enters Braja's woods with his tread sublime, a dancer without peer. His golden yellow raiment glows, his garland reaches to his knees, and from his lips the nectar flows and fills his flute with melodies. As Krishna thus begins his day with friends who sing his glory sweet, he beautifies Vrindavan's way with fine impressions of his feet. Samadhi culminates in this, to always see this scene of bliss within oneself and outside too. May Krishna give this boon to you. That last verse is from Prabhupada's Krishna book, where he says this is the perfection of transcendental meditation, to always see this scene, to visualize Krishna and meditate on it. So there it is. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.